What's up, everybody? This is your boy Chainsaw. Listen, we're going to try something a little bit different here today because of some obligations I have coming up. Promoting for another business. Got something big coming up this weekend. So I have been just swamped. I mean, absolutely swamped with work and then trying to follow up with production. Obviously, yesterday didn't get an actual opportunity to completely piece the show together in time. So we're going to try something a little bit different today. I'm literally going off script. So if we do say some things in the show that we otherwise might not typically say, I don't know, you just have to forgive me or something. But so yeah, that is what that is, right? But we're gonna basically try and pull a double today. So, you know, we're gonna get this out. It's gonna be a little bit of a different format than we typically do. And you know, by now, most of the topics that we're going to discuss, and you know, at least for this portion of today, for Cash Coffee Chaos, most of these topics have already been covered. Some have already been covered by other independent media, which is perfectly fine. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this like literally on a step-by-step basis. We're going to look at the progression in the Senate, not necessarily in real time, but you know, as it played out and you know, attempted to reconstruct chronological order. By now, we've already found out that the Senate, you know, at least the Senate had made announcements that they were looking to codify Roe v. Wade. You know, codify a federal legislation that would block abortion bans at the state level, right? But one has to ask, I mean, let's think about this, folks. Let's think about this for just a second. And this is something that I've discussed a lot, you know, in previous episodes and, of course, all over social media. So if you follow me on social media, Twitter, Chainsaw CCC, or you know, you follow me on Facebook, you know, you've seen me post about this, right? Did the vice president forget that the Supreme Court exists or something? Because if the plan, you know, was to codify Roe, you know, let's say there was even a possibility that the House would pass this thing that goes up to the president, you know, President Biden signs it into law, wouldn't the Supreme Court just go ahead and rule the same way that they did regarding Roe in the first place? So one might ask, and I will, is this performative activism? Is the vice president committing performative is the entire Democrat Party, the entire, you know, Democratic Party committing performative activism? And the answer is an obvious yes. It's performative activism. It is. It's performative activism. Why is it important? Because there's an election coming up. It's midterm season, folks. Once November rolls around, folks are going to be able to make a choice. And this, it was basically an attempt to paint a very clear picture to voters. And you know, we'll hear Senator Schumer mention this a little bit later in the broadcast. This was an attempt to paint a very clear picture to voters as to where they stand on these issues, authoritarianism, and as I've mentioned on this broadcast in the past, when it comes to states like Missouri, I mean, again, we're not talking about women's reproductive rights here, okay? Like that's a good topic for discussion, and that's usually what the abortion ban thing is about. But in these cases, if you assume that, you might be wrong. The state of Missouri, House Bill 2810, which we have discussed in large part on this show, included verbiage that specifically targeted women with ectopic pregnancies, tubal pregnancies, of which without treatment will cause internal bleeding and hemorrhaging and death. Okay. Representatives from the state of Missouri found it in their infinite wisdom to write a bill and, you know, to sponsor a bill that would include this and target this specifically with 30 years imprisonment, or, you know, you'd bleed to death and die. Okay. This isn't about women's reproductive rights. This is about their literal right to life, or right to freedom in some cases. You know, if they decide to break the law otherwise. So yeah, and we have already seen and discussed how obviously Republicans aren't going to just stop at women's reproductive rights. You know, the culture war will continue. So in the end, there's much more happening here than meets the eye. So again, is this performative activism? Yes. Is it necessary? Yes. Why? Because it's going to show a stark contrast. Basically, for the same reasons that I turn a camera on, sit here, and discuss a piece of legislation that was proposed in the state of Missouri. That they've since retracted that language, but they didn't include any language that specifically blocks 30-year imprisonment for tubal pregnancies. They didn't include language that specifically, would allow for ectopic pregnancies to be treated and not include imprisonment. Is that performative activism? Well, yeah. I mean, they removed the language from the bill, but they forgot to include language that actually would ensure public confidence that would not be the case. And so, I don't have a uterus, so like this personally, like this doesn't affect my person, my being, my body, right? Like it simply doesn't. So is this performative activism? Hell yeah, it does. It is, Is it necessary? Well, I don't know. You tell me. I live in a rural community and I speak with people who vote Republican. They got the Trump signs, they got the MAGA hats. They think that cat boxes are being placed in the bathrooms in their kids' high school. And they aren't aware. People actually think that there are cat boxes being placed in their kids' high school, but they aren't aware that their state senators are writing bills that specifically target them. Because keep in mind, you live in a red state. This isn't about this isn't about the libs in Missouri who are so pissed off about all this, who can't see the logic in this kind of legislation. This isn't about them. This specifically targets Republican women in red states because a tubal pregnancy could happen to anyone. Anyone with a uterus. But it doesn't care about your politics. It doesn't matter. So this specifically, so if you live in a rural community that is mostly, red hat wearing MAGA voters, this targets you. So, maybe that's a good talking point for folks who are interested in the spearhead of activism to be discussing. It makes sense to me. I don't know, but again, I'm just some guy, I'm just some guy sitting in a room, talking to a camera. How sad. And if you're wondering, yes, it was one thing for me to come back to the form of looking like I raided Robert DeBott's closet, which thanks for the suit, by the way. But after the secession from the beard, my girlfriend did make the comment that I somewhat looked like a pilgrim. So we're gonna go with the tiny ponytail, at least for the purposes of filming. And, or at least until, it grows out a little bit longer in the back, and then I could start looking like George Carlin's, cousin from across the border, Jorge, right? But that's another story. All right, so let's jump right into this. So you start either with the AP article. I think we're going to go directly with the video footage. Now, this is from yesterday. The Senate's looking to advance a bill to codify Roe into federal law. Let's take a look at Vice President Kamala Harris.
The question is it in the sense of the Senate to debate on the motion to proceed to S-4132, a bill to protect a person's ability to determine whether to continue or end a pregnancy and to protect a healthcare provider's ability to provide abortion services shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin. Aye. Mr. Barrasso.
The question is,
they are coming after your birth control. They are coming after Plan B and IUDs. And right here in the Senate, they are talking about a federal abortion ban, a federal abortion ban. That means a ban even in states like mine where the right to abortion is now protected. They are coming out.
Talk about flipping the script. And I mean, that's a very good point to also keep in mind, is that a federal abortion ban is going to be, amended and co-sponsored by folks who are, or who represent states, like Missouri, like Mississippi, like Louisiana, or Arkansas, where they have no exceptions, or, some of the other, places where they're including, because Missouri isn't the exception to the rule. There are other states that are including legislation or gently weeding out legislation ever so gently. That includes language targeting ectopic pregnancies. So if an abortion ban goes federal with these folks, that's why the midterms are so important. Okay, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna go on a rant here for a second, so bear with me. Here's the thing, and that's why the midterms are so important, And before folks jump in with chainsaw, he's attacking the left, sure, the hell with it. I'll attack left. The left sucks at this. The left really sucks at this. The left sucks with gatekeeping and means testing. Okay, if you're I've tagged the video. I've mentioned it in other videos. Maybe folks will get it one day. Look, this isn't really an attack on the left, and this isn't an attack on people who are really pissed off, and completely understandable why. Folks who are really pissed off that some folks, shoot, myself included, okay? This wasn't always 100% a priority, for me. That it wasn't, I didn't wake up every morning and think, how can I push forward for the women's rights movement? Okay, I'm big enough to admit that. Like, I mean, why would it be a thing? It's not I'm not a woman, and it's not something that affects me directly. I mean, it does affect me directly, but I mean, I'm a guy. Like, I'm, read the literature. We're kind of stupid, okay? Like, it's a thing. Is that an excuse? Well, no, probably not. Very most likely not. Depending on who you ask, it definitely isn't an excuse, and that's perfectly fine. Perfectly able to admit that was a mistake. Shoot, I didn't vote in the 2016 election, so like, I have to own a lot of this problem. I bought into the propaganda. I avoided politics. Hell, I used to work at a company that advocated and pushed. We were basically fundraising for Republicans, fundraising for the GOP, the NRSC, NRCC, I might have even worked on the Todd Aiken campaign, that piece of trash. Am I proud of it? No. Did it feed my family? Yes. Personally, if it comes between starvation and homelessness and pissing off the libs, y'all know where you can stick it, okay? That's just how it is. And you should not expect that out of anyone else. Folks who work at 95 and they don't have time for this, or it's something that doesn't directly affect them, or they don't think it's something that directly affects them, whether or not it does. If they're not aware, it's not their fault, okay? That's where advocacy comes in play. Again, red hat wearing, MAGA sign in the front yard says Trump Pence. It's 2022. The Trump people wanted to hang Mike Pence, for God's sakes, and they still got the sign in their yard. Okay? Those people, if you speak with them, and you explain to them all of the things that I mentioned in the previous show, they will understand that that's a bad idea, that legislation for tubal pregnancies, they might even get weird about the whole, rape and incest thing. They might even defend that. They might pull, they might evoke Jimmy Swaggart and defend that shit. Oh, well, let one slip. But here's the thing. They're not going to rationally defend, they can't rationally defend legislation that criminalizes treatment for ectopic pregnancies. Prison or death, okay? If you bring it to their attention, you show it to them, one-on-one, they won't believe you. They won't believe that their state representatives in their party are pushing legislation that way. And then from that point, again, it's not easy. It gets easier because now all you have to do is just show them the evidence. Do what Mike Pillow couldn't do. Show them the evidence. They've been begging for it for 2 years. It's time to deliver, okay? Which is also something that Democrats are really horrible with. But yes, so that's, again, not me attacking the left. Look, I want the people who are all pissed off, who are at the tip of the spear, the pointy part, that, I want them to charge forward. I want them to keep doing what it is that they're doing and what they're passionate about and what they, feel is right. Because they're on the cutting edge, right? I want that from them. I expect that from them. I expect them to be further ahead than me, my God. But what I don't want to see and what I don't expect and what they should be embarrassed about is trashing people, not who disagree with them, but who agree with them, but aren't at the level of agreeance that they are, or who try to disenfranchise, that's not even the word, who try to publicly shame and embarrass people who are attempting to normalize, calling it performative activism or what. What do you think the black female, also Southern Asian vice president of the United States of America is doing by presiding over the Senate to pass legislation to codify Roe as federal law? Did she just forget that the Supreme Court exists? If that isn't performative activism, there is no such word. Okay, so I don't know. I guess that's going to be the next talking point, is how the vice president is wasting her time. The people who are saying this kind of stuff, they are at the cutting edge. They are very more well informed than I am. Significantly more informed on this topic in particular than I am. I know virtually nothing about this. Okay, I am way playing catch up. But if you ever needed a sign that you're just wrong and you need to learn from this mistake in particular, I think all leftists could learn from this. Gatekeeping is just, it's just a waste of time and energy and effort. And what it does is it pisses off voters, is what it does. It takes people who otherwise would have their attention on the topic and take shit. I wanted to make this entire, I'm going off script here, so I wanted to make this video about what I'd seen in the Senate, and we're going to go ahead and jump back into that. But my God, I just took 15 minutes to go on a freaking rant about this stuff that I think is absolutely childish and stupid, because again, it's taking me off topic and I'm the guy with the camera. So let's jump back into the Senate here, my God, because it's about to get a whole lot less attractive and funny. So Senator James Lankford, of course, Republicans are known for their props, right? And Senator James Lankford is no exception, slamming abortion with baby pictures. Let's take a look.
Equity, privacy rights, bodily autonomy, healthcare decisions, freedom to choose, reproductive rights, basic civil rights. All those are euphemisms for she dies.
Long pause. Okay, so let's hear that one more time, because that's like literally this is a 24-second video and it really could have been like 18, but let's take a look at that just one more time here.
Equity, privacy rights, bodily autonomy, healthcare decisions, freedom to choose, reproductive rights, basic civil rights. All those.
Right. Those are a list of things that the Republicans are trying to take away. Look, believe them when they say it. They're telling you what the plan is. That's amazing. And here's the thing. Let's, to be completely fair to Senator Langford.
Those are euphemisms for she dies.
Right. What is the percentage of late-term abortions, or what is the percentage of abortions that happen after 27 weeks versus abortions that happen before 27 weeks anyway? Just little something for the class there. Go ahead and hit me up in the comments if you know the answer. Yeah, and Republicans, are you listening? My God. So this is, I assume, as per posting the end of his presentation, as it were.
We should all be working to support women in very difficult days. But she matters in this conversation.
There's the ultimate yeah, but if it were, we should all be working to support women, except for the ones who, have tubal pregnancies. They can go to prison or die. That's what he's saying. Or, that's the absolute best case scenario in some points. The worst would be that the 12-year-old is forced to carry her rape baby that may otherwise be missing vital organs and may not make it within hours or days after term to term, that the government is specifically forcing that upon that 12-year-old incest rape victim to carry their incest rape baby to term with problems that won't allow it to be viable anywhere outside of the wall. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario in places like Missouri is, prison or death. But we should all be working hard to ensure women's rights and things, right? Yeah. So one of my absolute favorites, Senator Sass here, let's pull this up, with his feelings, if he has any.
It is deeply human and deeply compassionate to recognize the humanity of an unborn life. Scientific advances like ultrasounds give us a glimpse into the lives of the unborn, first in black and white and now in 3D, and it's going to be clearer and clearer over time what that little baby is. And any honest conversation about abortion must grapple with the fact that every abortion begins with two lives and destroys one of them. It's deeply wrong to ask Americans to participate in an act that they know takes an innocent life. It is deeply human and deeply compassionate to recognize the humanity of an unborn life. Scientific advances like ultrasounds give us a glimpse into the lives of the unborn.
Scientific advancements, such as ultrasound, right.
First in black and white and now in 3D, and it's going to be clearer and clearer over time.
Right. First in black and white and now in 3D, clearer and clearer over time. Because the whole process starts out with something that's unrecognizable as human life. I mean, look, I think this is like a few years old meme even. We've all seen it by now. The meme where it shows the fetus and then it shows another fetus and it talks about, can you imagine that life begins this way and da-da-da. And then you get to looking at the one fetus and you're like, boy, that thing's got a really big penis. And, you know, it turns out it's a tail. And then scroll down to the bottom of the meme and it says, well, this is an elephant fetus. This is a, you know, a dog or a wolf or what, you know, freaking badger, whatever it was, fetus. But, yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I'm not a doctor. You think Ben Sass knows? You know, you think he saw that and was like, oh, no. That's pro-abortion propaganda. No, he probably saw that and was like, little tear trickled out of his eye and then got sucked back in because, you know, it's Ben Sass, bro. Let's be real. But, you know, it is what it is. So, and again, that's what they're referencing when they talk about, you know, when folks like Senator Langford from good old Oklahoma, I don't think I have to say again what kind of laws they're passing in that state. When he shows the picture of the baby, you know he is definitely missing out on the elephant fetus meme. So let's take a look at Senator Amy Klobuchar, her remarks from the other side of this discussion.
Court is on track to completely overrule Roe, stripping women of their constitutional right to seek an abortion. It will also be, I note, against the wishes of the somewhere between 70 and 80% of Americans who believe that this is a decision that should be made between a woman and her doctor. Not with Senator Cruz, not a bunch of politicians in Washington, but a decision that should be made between a woman and her doctor. 50 years stripped away of women's rights.
Basic Democrat, I mean, great points, obviously all true. Maybe this is part of the problem. The left seems to lack substance. But I did like the fact that she invoked the idea that Ted Cruz, you know, he's going to get in your pants regardless of how you feel about that. That's definitely a good talking point when it comes to these issues. I mean, it should be the ultimate one. The rest of it shouldn't even be topic for discussion. That the government should stay out of, you know, the party of free speech and bodily autonomy. You know, the people who, you know, couldn't handle wearing masks to save lives are all of a sudden clamoring, on the pro-life position. But they're doing so not by advocating against abortion, but by attempting to legislate against the abortion. I guess using small government. Is that what that is? Right. So Senator Schumer making his remarks here. Let's take a look.
We must oppose the vision that MAGA Republicans clamor for. Forced pregnancies, punishment for women and doctors, and zero exceptions for rape or incest. This is not what America wants. I hope it is not what members of this chamber want either. I implore everyone whose conscience has been jolted over the past week to vote in favor of today's measure.
Right. Again, basic, very straightforward, not exactly the baby presentation, no props, but we usually just see that from the right side anyway. But well, let's take a look at Bernie just giving him hell here.
Now I get very tired of hearing the hypocrisy from the extreme right wing who say, to quote, "Get the government off our backs." How often have we heard that?
Boom! What I say?
Get the government off our backs. We want small government.
Boom!
Well, I say to those right-wingers, if you want to get the government off of the backs of the American people, then understand that it is women who control their own bodies, not politicians. During the COVID crisis, how many times have we heard on this floor throughout this country the extreme right wing say The government must not force us to wear a mask. How dare the government do that? Government must not force us to have a vaccine. We have the right to do what we want with our bodies.
Bernie, get out of my head, bro. Look, if some of these remarks seem, like they lack a little bit of substance, and then a guy like Bernie just knocks it out the park. These are just the highlight reels. I didn't clip them, so blame the source. But yeah, man, freaking love that guy. And this is the climax, as it were. Let's take a look here.
On this vote, the yeas are 49, the nays are 51. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion is not agreed to.
Joe Manchin. I mean, is anybody surprised? And look, a lot of the leftists are losing their marbles right now because of Joe Manchin. I don't know that they should. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show, but I've definitely, talked about it on social media. My God, I'm just gonna have to throw that light out or something. I don't even know. I know I've mentioned it on social media before. Here's the thing. Who cares about Joe Manchin voting with Republicans? Who cares? Did you not expect that? I mean, seriously, if you didn't see that coming, like maybe something wrong with you somewhere up here. The thing that he needs to be focused on maybe there's something wrong with me up here. Definitely down here. The thing that needs to be focused on is that the entire half of the political spectrum, at least in the Senate, that Republicans, the entire party, voted with Joe Manchin in opposition to something like this. That's what needs to be the focus. Nobody likes that Joe Manchin and for the most part, Kirsten Sinema, vote right alongside Republicans. But I mean, same thing with her. What are you gonna do? You primary him, okay, that's all nice and fine, but can you win a primary and can you win the general? Because if you can't, then maybe focus on something different. It is one more, he votes 90% of the time with Republicans anyway. That's better than 100% of the time because there's some kind of, ultra MAGA psychopath, right? It is what it is, folks. And it doesn't matter if you like it, you love it. The same thing as I said before. You can like it, you can hate it, you could love it all day. Your feelings are irrelevant. Facts are facts and the numbers are numbers. It's what's required. The concern should be the rest of the ultra MAGA pack that's actually running the entire rest of the government. That should be the primary focus, especially as we go into the midterms, because we don't really have a whole lot of time to screw around with people's feelings, especially on the left. But I want to end this with the final thoughts by the Vice President before we take it away here.
I just presided over the Women's Health Protective Act vote, and sadly, the Senate failed to stand in defense of a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And let's be clear, the majority of the American people believe in defending a woman's right, her choice to decide what happens to her own body. And this vote clearly suggests that the Senate is not where the majority of Americans are on this issue. It also makes clear that a priority for all who care about this issue, a priority should be to elect pro-choice leaders at the local, the state, and the federal level. Because what we are seeing around this country are extremist Republican leaders who are seeking to criminalize and punish women for making decisions about their own body.
So let's jump into that. So the Vice President basically in tears. Now, is that performative activism? Well, let's split that up, actually. So she's basically in tears. And is that performative activism? I personally think, and this is just me speaking, you might disagree, I think those tears were real. I think those tears were real because, well, let's go back. Is this performative activism? Absolutely. It's performative activism. The vice president, you just saw it. That's performative activism, okay? It is. It is. What else is that? Did she forget? Is she drunk? Did she forget that the Supreme Court exists? They pass this legislation, it goes to the House. Even if it makes it in the House, the president signs it, Supreme Court's like, meh. Okay, is that performative activism? You bet your ass it is. Are those tears real? I think they are. I think they are. Because A, she can't believe that she just witnessed something like this. That she just presided over the Senate that had the balls to come out and you know, with this decision. And that she, as a woman, had to experience this firsthand. Hear the arguments and tally the votes. Yeah, I 100% think those tears were real. 100%. It'd be ridiculous not to. But again, this is performative activism. As she said, this shows. Hell, don't take my word for it. Let's hear the substance one more time here.
I just presided over the Women's Health Protective Act vote, and sadly, the Senate failed to stand in defense of a woman's right to make decisions about her own body.
That's why this was carried out, was to define that very clearly for the public, to normalize that to the public, that is the stance the Republican Party is willing to take. Now let's continue.
And let's be clear, the majority of the American people believe in defending a woman's right, her choice to decide what happens to her own body.
If her presiding over this, just to go on camera and say that to me is worth it. To be able to show, to exhibit this to the American people, to the American voter. Is it performative activism? You're damn right it is. And it's very important that it be performed very, very well for the average American voter. Or maybe the person who just has the MAGA hat and doesn't have the goofy sign in their front yard. It's very, very important for those people to see that.
And this vote clearly suggests that the Senate is not where the majority of Americans are on this issue.
Very important for people, for normal people. Yeah, I said it. For normal people who don't spend their days and nights staring at bright lights and talking to themselves in a room by themselves. It's important for normal people to hear that.
It also makes clear that a priority for all who care about this issue, a priority should be to elect pro-choice leaders at the local, the state, and the federal level. Because what we are seeing around this country are extremist Republican leaders who are seeking to criminalize and punish women for making decisions about their own bodies.
Now, that is a whole lot less toward the MAGA people, and that's more toward people who typically will vote left but don't show up for midterm elections. That's typically there for people who don't go to, you know, for the normal people who are on the left but don't research what their local candidates are. People who live in red counties and in red districts and don't know who their mayor is, or who their county commissioner is, or who their, whoever the hell, right? That they don't know who those people are, or what they stand for, or what they whatever. That was also performative activism, but it was for the left. Because again, the whole thing is performative activism. Kamala Harris isn't stupid. She knows the Supreme Court would just do the same thing. Even if this stuff could possibly make it to the president's desk, it'd be in the Supreme Court quicker than spit. So she didn't forget, she wasn't, she wasn't huff and glue and just spaced out. She's not drunk. She's not having an aneurysm, she's not having a stroke, and just, she knows. Would you assume that the vice president, who is a woman, who is a minority, who is the vice president of the United States, would you assume that she doesn't know how to do her job? Would you assume that she's taking the wrong steps towards, fighting against the abortion bans in states across the country? Would you assume that she's not with it when it comes to this issue? If that's your assumption, you might have a lot to think about. You should probably take good 24 hours to really consider that. Look, if you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe on YouTube. Subscribes are always free. You can support the channel, support the show, support independent media on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/chainsaw_ccc. You can support independent media for as low as $3 per month. It's less than the cost of a caramel latte, right? If you want to know what I'm up to, or you just can't get enough of your boy Chainsaw, check me out on Twitter at ChainsawCCC, and we'll catch you in the flippy fling flong. We'll see what happens today.